This is LBC with Vanessa Feltz. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Should the Chancellor Rachel Reeves and the leader of the Bank of England, the chairman of the Bank of England, should they both be in China? I was about to say on a jolly, but that wouldn't be fair or right or accurate, although I bet they're having a great riot over there. But should they be there trying to land us some kind of trade deals? Or should they be here doing their utmost to rescue the economy from disaster? That's what we're talking about. 0345 6060 973. Get in touch. It's over to you. But before we discuss that, how about this? These days, there's no problem at all trying to think about what to discuss at dinner parties. If you ever get invited to dinner parties, all you need to say is turn to the person next to you and say, Elon Musk, what? And they will turn back and they will sound off. They will tell you all kinds. He's a genius. He's a megalomaniac. He's absolutely insane. He wants to take over the entire world. He doesn't know what he wants. He's so confused. He's on the spectrum. He's off the spectrum. Just say the words Elon and Musk together and hey, presto, the conversation goes stratospheric. But I thought we might divert from the discussion of Rachel Reeves to discuss Elon Musk with somebody who, I don't know whether he really knows Elon, but he knows somebody very close to him indeed, and that is his father. I'm talking about the barrister and broadcaster Andrew Eborn, who, on his YouTube channel, somehow manages to interview Elon Musk's dad almost every day. What the heck is going on? Andrew Eborn, welcome to the show. Fill us in. How do you come to be doing this the whole time?
Oh, it's glorious. Vanessa, it's always a joy to join you on your brilliant show.
Thank you.
Yes, I had the joy of working with Errol and a number of different channels, number of stations there, and we became friends effectively. And sort of, they always used to say, look, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do, you're misinformed. And we thought there are so many stories, as you rightly say, about Elon every single day. And I thought it'd be very good to actually unpack, get to the truth with the person closest to him, or as far as we can possibly get hold of, and that's Errol. Who is about the same age as Trump. So you get that sort of father-son relationship. And we've got probably hundreds of hours of conversations. And there's been a classic example. You'll recall in the last few days, there was a report that Errol apparently said that Elon was going to buy Liverpool Football Club. And it was all over the media and so on and so forth. And it's entirely false. I present this series, as you know, called Andrew Eborn's Fake or Fact.
Yes.
Look at this fake information in this fake information age.
And what does Errol Musk have to say about a fake story like this, which does circumnavigate the globe about 100 times before lunchtime, appears everywhere, people start to think it's true? What does he say? What does Elon's dad say about that?
Well, the trouble is this. As soon as all the reports came out, the first person on the phone to him was Elon saying, have you been saying that I'm going to buy Liverpool Football Club? He said, no, not at all. And he was also contacted by the current owners of Liverpool Football Club saying, it's not for sale. How dare you suggest that it is? And I'll tell you how it came about. Errol was doing this wonderful interview and he was sort of asked, well, is he going to buy it? Would he be interested? And he said, well, interesting. We have got family commitments in Liverpool because Elon's grandmother, Errol's mother, effectively, was born in Liverpool. They grew up as a family. They did know the Beatles. And actually, Errol was telling me that his cousin, Barbara, used to work at Abbey Road. And coincidentally, he managed to meet the Beatles. He was about 12 at the time, Errol. And he was given a signed copy of a White Album, he told me.
Wow.
And you will know the White Album from the Beatles, that iconic one. One I found out, I did my research, one was sold in auction, signed. Apparently there's only about 2 in the world, which are signed by all the Beatles. The last time one went up for auction was in 2013, and it went for $200,000, in excess of $200,000.
All right, Andrew, what everybody wants to know, because obviously you've been talking to Elon Musk's father on numerous occasions, hours and hours and hours of chat. What is Elon about? What does his father say is his motivation? What is he dabbling and interfering and you know, at Trump's right elbow? What does he want to achieve? What's his aim?
Well, the fundamental point, he is the wealthiest man in the world, but probably the most influential. He's got over 200 million followers on Twitter. He's basically his love of humanity, and he wants to make sure that he wants free speech. He's a free speech absolutist. And what that means is that you make sure you put sunlight is the best disinfectant. He doesn't want to shut down debate. He wants all sides to be represented so they can get to the truth. And I always say the biggest mistress, if you like, is the truth. That's what we're all in search of. So we'd encourage people to think wisely. But understanding him, he basically grew up on British comedy. So he loves Monty Python. And so you get these wonderful tweets in the middle of the night where he's got these one-word answers or whatever. And that's where the sort of whole sense of humour comes from. But also he was the very first person to come out on Saturday Night Live to say that he has Asperger's. He's on the spectrum. He's very open about that, which is why you sometimes get this sort of, he might be in a crowd and people misunderstand him and so on and so forth. But his heart is undoubtedly in the right place. And not just for humanity on this planet, but if you heard the interview that he did as well, he's very keen on exploring other planets and to get us to Mars in the next couple of years.
But wouldn't some people doubt whether his father's heart is in the right place? Obviously, it's in the right place when he gives you hours and hours of rambling interviews. But I mean, his political sympathies and his views about various minorities, I don't think stand up to scrutiny, do they? Unless he's undergone an enormous change of heart over the years.
Well, it depends, and that's why I say it's always good to report what actually happens. As you rightly said in your introduction, tell a lie, it's gone halfway around the world before the truth has got its boots on. So if we look at the specifics, basically Errol started in politics himself. When he was only 20, he was one of the very first people to campaign for the ending of apartheid in South Africa. So Elon grew up around this, where politics represents at least sort of 50% of his life, is what he said. And obviously he's very influential, and it's interesting, Vanessa, hearing the politicians around the world. If Elon is in favour of you, you don't say anything against him. If all of a sudden he's supporting the other party, then he also will shut it down and make sure he can't contribute financially or otherwise. And that's been the debate on that sort of subject. And we had the classic example with Nigel Farage, where there was all this discussion, you might remember, about is he going to give $100 million to reform?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Nigel was coming out about Tommy Robinson with a contrary view to Elon's. And he was basically saying we should have a different leader for reform.
How do you feel about somebody being so influential purely on the basis of the amount of money they have? He's not an elected politician. Nobody has asked him to represent their views, project their views, protect their views, or any other thing. Hasn't been asked to do anything except, carry on with his life and be a private person just like everybody else. And yet he seems to be tinkering and dabbling and manipulating and interpreting and all kinds of things. Do you feel relaxed about that, or do you feel anxious and concerned about that, even maybe opposed to that?
We underestimate the intelligence of the electorate. And I think all Elon wants to do is to shine a spotlight on the evidence. I mean, George Soros, for example, has been investing in political parties all around the world for a long time, but nobody seems to give him the same amount of grief as they give to Elon. His heart is in the right place, and all he wants to try and do is to give people a platform so they can have that debate. And you'll recall that Mark Zuckerberg's following the same lead as Elon, are basically getting rid of people pre-moderating or moderating tweets. And we've now got community notes where the community decides whether something is true or not. And the way that works is people who would normally disagree have to agree on whether the particular note is an accurate reflection. So as you know, my background's as a lawyer, and I think in terms of making sure there isn't a spread of misinformation around the world, and certainly making sure that people don't incite to violence or things like that, there are laws and regulations in place. We need to balance that with the right to have a free democracy, the fundamental tenet of which is free speech.
Final question. Could you have been seduced, maybe, Andrew, by the charm, by the eloquence, by the panache of Elon Musk's dad, Errol? Could it be that you've been so beguiled by his presence on your show that you have come to be almost a spokesperson, if not an apologist, if not, I don't know, I wouldn't call you a puppet because I know you're far too independent-minded to be that, but, you've become a kind of, a devotee somehow along the line. Originally, you wanted to interrogate. Now you just welcome him with a big box of chocolates and some crumpets and jam. Is that what's going on?
Well, crumpets and jam, I'm sure, would appeal. But the reality, however, is this. My only mistress is the truth. That's the only thing I'm in search of. As you know, I did presented the investigative journalist programme, The Muckrakers, with Andrew Eborn, and we looked at that sort of side. I think the best thing to do, Vanessa, people can judge for themselves. They can go along, subscribe to the Andrew Eborn Show. It's on YouTube, on Octopus TV. It is free. What I like to do is to quiz people. We look at every single story. I unpack it in a sensible way. But the great thing about the long shows is that you can unpack it and make sure you don't have a 2-minute soundbite. We make sure that he's got a chance to answer.
When have you got Errol on next?
Themselves.
When's he joining you next? Elon's dad.
I spoke to him again this morning. So every day we're getting content.
Every day, Andrew. My God, a life sentence. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Andrew Eborn, there, the barrister and broadcaster who talks to Elon Musk's dad every day. The time is 3:45. I'm Vanessa Feltz. This is LBC, and straight after this break, should Rachel Reeves be in China or should she be here sorting out the mess? No question there's a mess. Whether she's the person who caused it is up to you, lovely listener.
LBC coming up next week on Nick Ferrari at Breakfast.
We'll give you those all-important inflation figures. It's day one in court for the suspects in the alleged Manchester airport attack, and Britain's first legal drug consumption room opens for business in Glasgow. We'll have a full report.
Nick Ferrari at Breakfast. Back Monday morning from 7. Listen on your radio and on Global Player. LBC. Vanessa Feltz on LBC.